Alright, we're going. Welcome to Multimedia Club cast. It's me, your boy. We're in the same echoey room that we were last time. I listened to the recording of the last episode. It doesn't sound great. Unfortunately, we need to be in here again, but hopefully that'll change. So, we're going to have a pretty short episode today. We're aiming at about an hour because other things are going on.
You'll already know how well we did.
Yeah. We'll see. Alright, well, without further ado, you want to jump right into emails?
Let's jump right into emails. We have, that's my personal email, which involves a lot of college crap.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's our email. We got one from Sadie.
Yeah.
How about that? Did you know about this?
What is it?
Oh. Colin and Josh, first question. Have you guys ever considered doing a TV segment? I know Colin is a huge weeb, and most anime I know airs on television, so this seems like a logical question. Do you want to do a segment on TV?
That is a thing. Yes, I am a huge weeb, but that's about all I can talk about when it comes to TV. I don't really watch TV at all. You want to talk about Black Mirror, maybe I could hang, but like, other than anime, I don't watch a whole lot of TV, unless you wanted to do like a segment on British sitcoms and just British comedy shows in general. British sketch comedy. You know, Fry and Laurie, that kind of thing.
We could do a weekly segment on Fry and Laurie.
Yeah, just like Fry and we'll have music of the week, movie of the week, Fry and Laurie episode of the week.
All of them every time.
Yes, exactly.
All right. As far as TV goes for me, maybe once I get back into watching things on Netflix. Otherwise, my TV includes watching reruns of The Office and Parks and Rec.
Right.
And a bit of Fry and Laurie, of course. But as far as watching TV and doing an actual, weekly segment on it, I don't think we're going to do it. Not a weekly one, for
Basically,
sure.
Okay, there was an episode way back when, I say way back when, it probably wasn't that long ago, in which we talked about Stranger Things. So
that's true.
Basically, every time we just want to talk about a TV show, we will. I can't see us having enough to talk about for like a weekly segment though, unless we really crack down on TV. If I watch more anime than I currently do, I can like do an anime of the week segment, which is possible. I don't know. I do want to talk about a couple anime I've seen recently, maybe, but not this episode. We'll do that another episode.
Yeah, so I mean, we will do more TV segments in the future. It just needs to be something interesting that we both care about. Because I'm not going to ramble on here about Game of Thrones because Colin hasn't watched it, and Colin's not going to sit on here and ramble about anime every day, all day, because I haven't watched it.
Right.
And it wouldn't be very entertaining. Mm-hmm. Now, if we both start watching Black Mirror, which I plan on doing, we will probably end up doing a segment on that.
Yeah, Black Mirror is very good. I'd see you liking it.
So we'll probably do something on that eventually. Not right now. Not in the very, very near future. But eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Great suggestion.
Yeah, no. We will definitely do some more. Second question. Can I make you guys a TV tropes page? I guess.
I don't know what that is.
I'm not sure.
So go for it.
Hey, you should make us famous on Wiki. On
Wikipedia?
Yeah.
Give us a Wikipedia page.
Yeah, make us famous. And I'm sure they'd delete it because we're not relevant enough. But still, you should do it anyway.
Sure, go for it. I mean, you, when you hear this episode, you should, text us and explain to us what that means, because I know I'm going to say right now, I'll look it up for myself, but I always forget. So...
Yeah. In fact, you know what? You can update us on your next weekly email, which you seem to be doing.
Yeah. Also, we need that. This is the message to Sadie portion of the show rather than viewers' messages to us. Also, you should do the what was it? Musical theater talk.
Oh yeah, just send us like a big old file.
Literally, Sadie or anybody listening to this who knows us, if you send us a clip of you talking about something, we'll put it on the show. Because it just takes work off of our backs. I mean, just put it on.
I mean, it depends on what you're talking about.
Roberto,
sure.
if you can talk about your favorite band, but like only in Spanish. Just send us like a 10-minute clip.
A 10-minute clip of just a bunch of...
Yeah, just you talking about your favorite band in Spanish. I would put it on. That would be like the intro.
Oh.
Yeah.
How about outro?
No intro. See, we got this.
We have to make
music.
sure we're more cultured.
Literally, I would just take the intro music in the editing timeline, just replace it with Roberto speaking Spanish for 10 minutes. That's the intro.
That's an awful intro.
Yeah, well...
To anybody who doesn't know Spanish.
And those who do know Spanish would be like, what's going on?
It's like, why is it in Spanish now?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure I'll pick up like a word or two, and then I'll be like, wow, he said nosotros. And I'll be like, wow, I've heard of that one. And then that's it.
I'll be like, see. Anyway.
Come on, vámonos. Everybody, let's go.
All of the Spanish I know from Dora the Explorer.
Good. Great.
Anyway, let's okay, so is that the only, or are there more? Is there more
nope,
of that?
We got more email.
Cool.
P.S. Music recommendation. No obligation, of course.
Okay.
But you see, Sadie,
I haven't heard of that band, actually.
Sadie, you see, as soon as you put it in the email, it's an obligation.
Yeah.
It's mandatory for us.
I mean, we're going to be talking about Death Grips for like 20 minutes.
We're being
episode,
held by gunpoint.
We'll talk about anything, basically.
Almost anything.
Yeah.
Even Colin's hidden racism, as we did last episode.
Right, yeah.
No obligation. It is an obligation. It's always an obligation. But if you guys ever get around to listening to the album Flamingo by Brandon Flowers, I would love to hear your thoughts. IMO, it holds up well alongside with the stuff with The Killers. But it's very singular vision, amateur-y, which could be a good or a bad thing depending on how you look at it.
Cool. I've never heard of it, actually. And I like the ones that I haven't heard of, because you get to experience something new.
The Killers are a very up or down, yes or no, black and white band for me.
I agree. There are certain Killers songs that are just very good, and then certain ones that I just couldn't care less about.
Yeah, so we'll listen to it, and we'll get back to you. Now you think that's where it ends. It doesn't. PPS, stay tuned as I rifle through my collection of piano rock albums, which I keep right next to my emo phase albums, and I try to decide whether the next album I recommend is more Ben Folds or more Fall Out Boy.
Cool.
So stay tuned.
Can't wait for that Fall Out Boy recommendation. Did you know Fall Out Boy has a new album out this year? Apparently it's not very good.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I haven't been following them.
I don't know. I haven't even heard it. It's just Anthony Fantano just did a video on it.
How about that?
Speaking of Anthony Fantano, I just made an Anthony Fantano meme. So check that out.
Please increase my meme view count.
It's getting more traction than most of my videos do. And by more traction, I mean it's got like 50 views. Because, nobody watches this channel. But, like... apparently a friend of mine liked it so much they tweeted it to Anthony. And I was like... all night I was like, oh, what if he sees it?
Oh my god.
That'd be so... Alright, weird audio cut there. That's because my finger rested on the space bar. And it stopped the recording. Luckily, I caught it immediately.
So we were talking about Anthony Fantano, and I think that's the end of that.
Alright, cool. Speaking of Anthony Fantano, let's get into music, shall we?
Okay.
Do you have anything else to talk about?
No.
Okay, let's get into music. So we got 2 albums to talk about. The Car Seat Headrest one, which admittedly I haven't heard the full thing. Basically, I just jumped around a little bit. So if you want it, do you want to talk about that one?
I suppose I could. Well, what was your first impression of the album? Because I know you said last week, bad.
It's not my thing. Something about the vocals and the production, it just didn't catch my interest. I was listening to it and I was like, this is just not my thing. It's just I had no interest in it. I mean, it was like, yeah. Also, I couldn't listen to it on Spotify, and that already like miffed me.
Oh my God, Colin, you and your elitism.
Yeah, right.
God.
You know why Tool is an awful band? Because they're not on Spotify.
You know why Colin's an awful human being? Because he doesn't listen to anything that's not on Spotify.
Exactly. Yeah, no, yeah, so I don't have any... Yeah, that's my, like, really shallow opinion about it, but I want you to describe it in a way that makes me want to listen to it, if it's good.
It's not good.
Okay.
So when I was going into this, the first thing I was like is shoegaze. Okay, so we got we got the go ahead to listen to some shoegaze, which we did, and I didn't like it at all. In fact I disliked it quite a bit, and it definitely wasn't my thing.
I liked My Bloody Valentine more than this. More than Car Seat Headrest,
right.
I think.
See, I like this more.
Okay. Fair enough.
So that I was like expecting something on the level of shoegaze, because that's the only thing I have to base it off of what we've been suggested so far. So I went into it with really low expectations, I suppose, and came out going, it was better than I thought.
Yeah, I just interjection here. I realized that if someone hasn't seen the last episode, they don't know what album we're talking about. It's Twin Fantasy by Car Seat Headrest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, continue.
But the more I got into it, the more I realized that this isn't something I would listen to. This isn't something I would recommend to people usually. But it certainly is better than what I was expecting, you know?
Okay.
So as far as going into it, I listened to it. I came out of it more tired than I was when I went into it. And then proceeded to go about the rest of my day saying, wow, that was entirely not my thing.
Alright.
So, you know, it had a few good songs here and there. Nothing that I could tell you because I listened to it all on one big 50-some minute video on YouTube. So it didn't end up, telling me any of the song names, which is great. I love that. So I don't know what songs I liked, but I liked like 3 of them. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how many songs there were because once again, it doesn't tell you that, but great.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose if we were smart, we would have looked it up and actually done that. But
right. But like I was going to do that when listening to it, and then I was listening to it. It's like I don't care to talk about this very much. It's like it's not bad. It's not objectively bad. It's just I'm not really into it. I don't know. It's just not really my thing.
I think I ran into the problem where it just doesn't have a good hook.
And it's
right
kind of
now
formless.
Yeah, right now I'm looking for bands that have something that really make me want to listen to them more.
And boy, do I have the album for you.
Nope. Because it has to be a good hook. Can't be a friggin' brick wall that just gets dropped on your face. It's not a hook. It's a trap.
Yeah.
But no, like it didn't have anything in particular that was like, oh yeah, you should listen to more of this. But overall, it was better than I was expecting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe I should listen to more of their other stuff. Maybe they have more interesting things somewhere else.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Not me.
Let's do this. Let's go.
So I was actually I was walking for the people on the Discord.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I was walking through track by track basis. I finally did it. I went and did it.
He made the mistake.
I have gone through Bottomless Pit by Death Grips. And I almost hate to say this because Death Grips, they're kind of like a meme band, right? A little bit. They've been memed to infinity, and that's kind of where I heard about them, was through memes. But I'm kind of a Death Grips fan now after listening to Bottomless Pit in its entirety. To be honest with you, Bottomless Pit is a very, very solid album. I don't know how else to put it. So now, what are your opinions on...
I won't be following you into that pit.
Okay.
Into that bottomless
Into that
pit.
bottomless pit, right. So...
I listened to it.
Alright.
I listened to all of it.
You listened to the whole thing?
Yeah, I did.
Cool.
Yep.
So you have context when I talk about these specific songs.
Oh, I do.
Yeah? So, we start off with the first track, Giving Bad People Good Ideas, which is one of the most off-putting tracks on the entire thing.
I actually disagree. I like that one more than most of them.
You do?
And
well, see, here's
the
thing.
By the term "like," it's relative. This is all relative because I dislike it.
When I say off-putting, I don't mean bad. I mean, like, this is a hard album to listen to for, like, a casual... Like, if you... Oh, God. I always end up sounding pretentious when I talk about everything, but it's like... My point is, if you, like... If, say, your favorite artist is Justin Timberlake or Britney Spears, and you're like, let's check out this Death Grips album, it's gonna be a little bit of a bumpy ride.
See, now, the way you put that makes it sound like people who like pop music aren't going to get into this. But let me rephrase that. If you like any music...
Right. If your favorite band is like Aerosmith, or if your favorite band is like...
Any coherent band
right.
that people know and like...
Because Death Grips is experimental to the point of being practically genreless. I mean, it is hip-hop, but Giving Bad People Good Ideas is a grindcore track. There's elements of metal in several of the songs in here. It's not a metal album, but they're metal influence. There's, like, you know, there's trap. It's all very electronic and synthetic. But usually that doesn't really do it for me, but in this case, I really liked it. Anyway, so Giving Bad People Good Ideas is, like, the gateway of this album, because it's like if somebody's just going track by track and they get hit with that monstrous blast beat grindcore just wall of noise that is the first song, they're gonna be like, I don't like this, and then just switch it off. If you can get past that as a casual listener,
you still might not like it.
You still might not like it, but it's like that's the most obnoxious the album gets, I believe. The first track. And I don't even dislike it all that much. I mean, I'm not a big fan of grindcore, and it's just like when I hear it, I just hear noise. And it's got a good hook. It's got decent chants going on. But it's one of my least favorites on the album, I think. And then you've got Hothead, which is that second like obstacle you have to get over, because Hothead's vocals are just I don't even know how to describe them.
I would typically say awful.
Awful. I can see that. It almost sounds awful to a degree of like this can't be like not like humorous. Like, if I'm expected... I don't think I'm expected to take it seriously, the way it sounds. Because he's literally just going like...
See, but I think you are.
I don't know. Well, maybe. Death Grips does not take themselves all that seriously if you look at their music videos. So, maybe it's just, like, absurdity for the sake of absurdity. I mean, literally Giving Bad People Good Ideas. Have you seen the music video for that?
Mm-mm.
Like, when the grindcore comes in, it's literally just... Well, the whole video is they're, like, puppeting a shoe. And when the grindcore comes in, it's just this really shaky shot of someone shaking a shoe really fast. It's just absurd and wacky and hilarious. I love it.
Now, do you think it's supposed to be absurd and wacky?
If you see the video, there's no way it's not supposed to be absurd and wacky.
I don't know. Some people think that's art.
If it's trying to be art, it's insanely laughable. And, yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're not idiots. Because, like, they clearly... They have a good grasp on the art that they're producing. I feel like everything's very thoughtful. And they have a little bit of a sense of humor about it. And also a little bit of... They take themselves somewhat seriously. I don't know. But yeah, Hothead and Giving Bad People Good Ideas are my two least favorite tracks, but it's all uphill from there, in my opinion. Because you got Spikes. Spikes is pretty good. Spikes is... it's not one of the best tracks on the album, but it's a step more in the right direction. It's a little more laid back than the first two tracks. It's a lot more flowing, and it's got to look like a pretty catchy hook. It's a catchy little jam. I like it personally. And then what's next? Got Warping. I actually really like Warping in a sense of like Warping is what I called it on Discord is it's a fever dream. It kind of feels like a off balance kind of skewed like LSD trip. Feels like a bad trip. Essentially. Actually this whole album feels like a bad trip, but it's this specifically it's very kind of like punk psychedelic. I don't know. And I think the term I used in Discord is sludgy. Yeah, that is it. And is the next track, and that's one of my favorite songs on the album actually. What I say it's the closest to a like mainstream catchy song they have. I can see this being played on like the radio with heavy censoring, of course.
It is one of those songs where you're like, it's probably one of the easiest to listen to, and I said yeah, and then you listen to it and it's once again
comparatively
it's laughable.
Comparatively, it's pretty easy listening.
I suppose
to compare to the rest of the album,
it's not easy listening.
I mean, even Chris said that. Chris and I were talking about like. He says, I don't listen to any, or he was saying that I don't listen to any, like, experimental stuff, and I'm like, oh, I should show him Death Grips. And he, every song he said he really hated, but then started, and he was like, oh, I like this. And then as it went on, he didn't like it as much, but it's like, has that catchy hook to it. And it's like, it sounds almost mainstream, but it's like, it's still Death Grips. It still has that Death Grips edge to it.
Yeah, it's... This is the one song where when I was listening to it, I actually could imagine it maybe being not taking itself so seriously. But then again, I could see it going the exact opposite way, and these guys being like, oh my god, if we just say a lot in our music video, that's like modern day children talking to people. Oh my god!
Have you seen the music video for
No.
It's really cool. I wasn't expecting something so cool. You should check it out. Or not, because I get the sense you're not a big Death Grips fan.
Really? Do you?
Yeah.
Do you really get that sense?
I do.
I can't believe where you would get that.
Yeah. And alright, moving on. Bubbles Buried in This Jungle is like the most like pounding like concussive song on the album, I think, other than the first track, but this is like concussive in a good sense. It's got a really sick industrial beat to it, and I really like that one. It's another one of my favorites off the album. Trash. What I said, Trash has a really good flow to it, as does the next track, Houdini. These two kind of like go hand in hand in my mind because they're kind of similar and they're right next to each other in the track list. Trash, I like the lyrical content. Like, it's all about the internet age, man. All we do is upload trash.
I wish I could understand some of the lyrics. That'd be nice.
Yeah. It helps to like actually read the lyrics. It's kind of hard to sit. It's kind of hard to tell what he's saying. Sometimes.
In an audio format, it would be helpful if you read it. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
We got. Well, it's it's the same as like when you listen to like a guitar solo. Like you can look up the tablature for it and like learn the intricacies of it. Like you get the gist by listening to it. You know what I'm saying? But it's like
I
if you want to.
But if you listen, wait. Are you telling me that when you listen to Death Grips, you get the gist of what they're saying?
Yeah. Well, it's like every once in a while
you hear.
Every once in a while, he says something that's legible, and it's like, okay, I get it. Yeah.
No.
But yeah, Trash and Houdini are they're fine. They're kind of like not every song on the album is all that interesting, and they're those two specifically aren't all that interesting to me. Maybe I should listen to them more. Probably will. BB Poison or Baby Poison. I didn't have a lot to say about this one as well, but it goes back to the style of the early album. It's less of the like smooth flow of the last two, and it's pretty decent. The lyrics are about the fan base for Death Grips and like the weird relationship they have with their fans. Like they don't tell them anything, you know. They withhold information.
Good.
Anthony
Great.
Fantano described the relationship between Death Grips and their fans as kind of a BDSM situation, and that's a good way of putting it.
I mean, Death Grips just seems like they like BDSM. I mean, have
Yeah.
you looked at that cover art?
The money store? Yeah.
Yeah.
3 bedrooms in a good neighborhood. All I said about it was it's a banger. And it is. I remember it being, I was like, oh, sweet, this is awesome. Ring a Bell is great. It has these two... if there's like one part of any song on here that I feel like you'd kind of like, it's the musically, I don't know what you'd call that part of the song, but it's like right about the halfway mark. Like it starts really metal and you did hear it, but I'm just saying, in my mind I picture you liking Ring a Bell, probably. I don't know if it stuck out to you, but it's like I really love the instrumentation of it, like especially the part like halfway through the song and on. I just love that synth lead, dude. It's just kind of smooth and like it's not rough to listen to. It's pretty smooth, you know. Easy listening, and it's just and it's just pretty sweet. I honestly love that song. I've listened to it quite a bit after I finished the album. But it starts with that like metal intro, and it's a lot cooler. It's a lot easier to listen to than the last metal song, which was Giving Bad People Good Ideas. You got 80808. That one's great. Also, I know I didn't put it on my good songs. There's 2 I put on my good songs. One of them isn't even on this album. Now that I think about it, no, it was and Bubbles Buried in This Jungle and Ring a Bell. I almost put 80808, but I didn't want to like flood good songs playlist with Death Grips. But 80808 is very good, and the refrain is just so primal, you know.
I'm sorry, man. I'm trying my best not to just shit on everything. I really am.
Well, yeah, you know, I'm just putting my opinion out about this album.
You go right ahead.
The last track's,
there's one more.
The last track's okay. That's it.
Alright.
The last track is like, it's a solid outro and it fits the tone of the rest of the album, but I don't really remember anything about it, so it's just kind of
So
it's
So, oh my god. So your overall review of the album?
Very, very... It's very good if you want something different.
Okay.
If you want hip-hop that's like... It's not like... If your favorite hip-hop artist is like Kendrick Lamar, or if you like... I shouldn't even say specifics, because it's like every kind of hip-hop is not this. There are certain groups like Sisyphus that take a little bit of Death Grips inspiration, but it's like Death Grips is the whole hog uncensored. And it's kind of... It's really, really... Like, all the interviews I've heard of Death Grips, none of them have really mentioned how inaccessible their music is. I feel it's fair to mention that, like, it's hard to get into. Literally, it took me like a year to get to the point where like I felt comfortable reviewing an album of theirs, because it's just like a year of long exposure. And I've come away just really liking it. It's almost like I have Stockholm syndrome. Speaking of which, we'll get there. Okay.
Let me do my rundown.
Okay, give you a rundown.
All right, so Death Grips. I don't like them, starting off.
Sounds good.
Bottomless Pit, I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's run through the songs, as Colin did.
Mm-hmm.
Giving Bad People Good Ideas. I enjoyed giving bad people good ideas, or just giving bad people good ideas.
So you enjoyed the part.
Giving bad people good ideas. I'm just giving bad people good ideas.
So you enjoyed the part that wasn't MC Ride.
Yeah, that was all right. The rest of it I didn't enjoy. Hothead, Spikes, Warping were kind of unforgettable in my books. Just because they all... It's Death Grips. Nothing sounds... nothing sticks out in my head going, wow, this is exactly what you wanted to hear today. Definitely...
See, sorry to interrupt you real quick. See, I think that's a thing that I like about it. Somehow Death Grips clicks with me, and when I'm hearing it, it's like, I like this. This is what I want to be listening to right now. But you have to be in the mood.
See, but I can't distinguish one Death Grip song from another most of the time.
Fair enough.
I can't... All of them sound like mindless, just garbage, I guess would be the term.
Well, I understand your negativity on Death Grips. I really do. Like I said, I disliked them for a solid year before I attempted to like them. But I disagree with that. I feel like their songs are pretty distinct in the sense that like it doesn't really do the same thing twice in a row. Like, some songs may have a similar feel, but there's always a little gimmick to each song, in my opinion.
Yeah, there is, but that doesn't mean that they feel different, you know? Because they and it's I go into it, I'm like, wow, this is very Death Grips. And
I mean, you compare something like Giving Good People Bad Ideas with something like extremely different.
Yeah, but they're both bad in my
Good counter argument.
No, it's just one listening to them. It's like you listen to Giving Good People Giving Bad People Good Ideas. I listen to it. I'm like, wow, this wasn't good. And then I listen to because that's the second one you told me to listen to. And I'm like, wow, this is mildly better, but still bad. You know, it doesn't have anything that makes it go, wow, this is something I can actually enjoy. You know, it's all just sensory overload with too much of everything and not enough, in my opinion, talent put in. You know, there isn't enough knowledge behind the
I believe
the
there's
music.
I believe there's a lot of talent behind the production of it, and
you know what? I'll let you finish.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you finish, but there might be a lot of talent behind the vocals and lyrically.
Yeah,
but I can't tell.
That was the other thing I was.
But I can't tell.
He's got this, from a technical standpoint, he's got this flow that's pretty impressive on certain songs. Like, I always saw Death Grips as being like he doesn't rap so much as he just like does these like asymmetrical chants. But like, there's a lot of songs on this where he's got like a flow, and it's like he's like actually rapping, and then you look into the lyrics and it's like, this is like horrible, not in a quality sense, but it's like, these are some of the sickest lyrics I've ever read. And you know what, it's just kind of enjoyable.
And then maybe we come to a thing where, like, since I can't understand the lyrics, maybe I should look up the lyrics, which I know you've told me to do, but it's I run into an issue when I'm listening to a song and I can't understand a word he's saying except for go, and that's it.
Yeah.
I would much rather listen to something where I could actually like maybe understand them.
Fair enough, but the way I view the way MC Ride uses his voice is he's not a vocalist; he's another instrumentalist.
Which is good if you're not trying to portray ideas through it.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because if you are, then you should be, you know...
Well, see, what they did is they released the lyrics before they released the album.
Really?
Which is kind of an interesting move.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, they released the lyrics to the full album like before releasing the album itself, so people could read through it and understand the message of the album, and then they released the album so they could just get that visceral experience of listening to it. Which, if your music sounds like this, that's probably a smart move.
Yeah, that was probably the best move that they could have done, actually.
Yeah.
I can see it. So I really should read the lyrics because as far as being a lyricist goes, I hate listening to most of Eminem's stuff. I'm just not a big fan of his.
I just don't like Eminem in general.
Well, But as far as being a lyricist, he is amazing. Like he's quite good actually. The way he puts words together, it's actually kind of amazing. But when it comes down to just like his music and what he actually produces, I'm usually not a fan of that either.
Fair enough.
And I mean, there's a lot of rappers like that where when they're not doing gangsters, money, and women, and they're doing songs about something that's a little bit more serious. Typically, the bigger rappers are actually decent lyricists, and that would make sense considering they're the bigger rappers. And when you look into that, that's when you start to actually see some talent. Other than the technical talent of like Busta Rhymes, who can just like and then it's amazing, but it's nonsense.
And then you get things like Gucci Gang.
Yeah, and then you get things like Gucci Gang.
Where no talent's involved.
It's very true.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, you were talking about Biggie Smalls or
Biggie. Yeah, so Biggie Smalls is one of. I don't know who Biggie Smalls is, man.
You don't know who Biggie Smalls is?
Not really.
Who was the guy you just said?
Busta Rhymes.
Busta Rhymes. I get those two mixed up a lot.
Do you?
Something about fat black rappers from the 90s.
Is Busta Rhymes fat?
I
thought he was just like ripped.
I'm pretty sure he's fat.
Is he fat?
Let's look up an image of
Busta Rhymes. See if
quick.
Busta Rhymes is fat.
Oh, maybe he's not. I don't know. Maybe he is.
Go to images.
I spelled it.
Oh no, he's ripped.
You think it's a little bit. I think back in the day he was ripped, but now it's a little bit of both. I mean, look at that. No. He is currently fat.
No, I think he's ripped fat though.
Ripped fat.
Where he's not like he's not like fat, but he's gained weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So like when you get older and you've been just ripped. Like, you get older, and then you start to...
God.
That's not fat, man.
That man is massive.
He is, but that's not fat.
I suppose that's mostly... Well, yeah, there's a little bit of... It's like fat on muscle.
Yeah. So he's not fat, but he's thick. Let's say
he's
thick.
A thick boy.
All right. Glad we did this. But no, Death Grips is one of those things where I should really look into the lyrics, because I think there might be some actual... like some good talent in the lyrics, but as far as the music goes, I dislike the music intensely. It doesn't hold anything for me personally.
That's
it's fair. So experimental that it doesn't seem to hold any type of anything. Like it doesn't have anything that anybody would sit down and listen to and go, wow, this is good music.
Well, it has quite a massive following. Anthony Fantano gave this album a 9 out of 10.
I suppose.
And he gives 9 out of 10s very sparingly.
I don't know who Anthony Fantano is, man.
He's the internet's busiest music nerd.
Okay.
Here, let's look at
Anthony Fantano.
And I think the reason I made that Anthony Fantano meme is I was checking out what he had to say about Death Grips after I went through the album, and I saw this video and I realized it was pretty easily memeable, so I went for it.
Good.
Anthony Fantano, bottomless pit.
But no, it's one of those things where the music it doesn't have a very good driving beat. It doesn't have anything...
See, I think it does have quite a good driving beat. This video has almost 1 million views. Well, 500,000 views. He's not that famous, but he's got 1.2 million subscribers. Okay. He's probably the most famous music critic, because there's not a lot of very famous music critics these days.
I think I might have seen a couple of his.
Yeah, no, he's been around for a while.
But, I mean, I shouldn't say nobody likes it, because of course somebody does.
Right,
I mean, It wouldn't be Death Grips without people liking it.
Mm-hmm. They have quite a big fan base. They do a lot of shows, too. I would like to see a Death Grips show, but maybe through the internet. I don't know if I'd want to be there in person. Seems pretty intense, if you ask me.
Yeah. But as far as the music goes, this album wasn't for me.
Okay.
At all.
That's understandable. It's not for everybody.
And I
it
like
definitely
experimental
isn't for
prog, just about anything. Experimental is usually where most of my stuff that I really, the new stuff I've been listening to really gets into it. But this just wasn't it.
Alright, fair enough. So
I like Sisyphus, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Sisyphus is like Death Grips light. Kind of. Death Grips with a less emphasis on just extreme rage and a more...
Maybe that's it, too.
Maybe you just don't like...
Maybe I got out of that phase.
See, the thing is, it's very angry music, but like when I listen to it, I don't like incur rage. I just I listen to it for the music. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about on that subject.
Yeah, no. As far as like feelings of music goes, like this certainly doesn't give you a good feel.
Sisyphus goes down a lot easier than Death Grips. It's kind of
I suppose when I listen to music, I'm typically looking for a specific feeling, and this is never the feeling I'm looking for, I guess. Like when I want to be like pumped up or like angry pumped up, like this isn't what I'm gonna go to.
You go to like Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
Or,
like something that you can just be like, oh, like just like really get into it, like Rage. Like it's a really good example.
Anyway, to wrap this up, we're running out of time.
Yeah.
To wrap this up, if I had to give a number rating to Bottomless Pit, I don't know if I'd go as high as Anthony Fantano's 9 out of 10, I would say. Also, I would say to all the viewers listening, check out his video on Bottomless Pit for a much more in-depth explanation of the album and a much better review of it. And I would suggest you check it out too if you're curious to see if you're curious to see what people like about it, basically. I want to give out of 10, I would give it a 8 out of 10. I would take 1 point off for it not being being so weird that it's going to drive most everybody away. But it's at the same time I almost want to give it a point for that because it's it's so weird, so different. I don't know. Overall 8.5 out of 10. Almost a 9. It's super good album in my opinion.
All right.
I'm going to
if you're going to listen to this album, my recommendation is listening to Giving Bad People Good Ideas, listening to listening to a little bit of Trash, 3 Bedrooms in a Good Neighborhood, Ring a Bell 80808, and then ending it there. That would be my suggestion for people who actually want to listen to this album.
Sure. Give it a shot.
I think those were probably my favorites off of this album. As far as number ratings go, 2.5 out of 10.
Oh wow, that's really low.
Yeah,
all right.
Maybe 3.
Fair enough. I was expecting something like a 4 or 5 out of 10. You really trashed it.
Yeah.
But that's cool.
But I mean, this is on par with Twin Fantasy, actually, just because of how mediocre it was. It probably gets a 2.5 or a 3.
Alright, fair enough.
In my not objective, very, very personal rating system.
Okay.
So
all right.
Do you want me to rate it?
No, that's cool.
For the general people.
That's fine. That's fine with me. Or if you, that's if you were to give it the average layman, he probably works at a construction job.
Okay,
he really likes
for average people. So not my personal scale, but for anybody else, Death Grips would probably be a solid 3 or 4.
Okay.
3. Probably 3, just because it's rough.
Fair enough.
And then Twin Fantasy would probably be an average 5.
Right.
Just because it's so average.
Fair enough.
And I usually just start disliking when things get too average. That's why it drops.
Yeah, there's certain things that I watch that Actually, that we're gonna come back to this when we talk about The Captive. There's certain things.
I mean, we could talk about Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah,
it's just so
Murder on the
average.
Orient Express. It's so average. I was gonna give it a 5 out of 10 because it's so middle of the road, but it's so middle of the road it deserves less than that. Basically,
yeah, it's not inventive in any way, shape, or form. Therefore, I think it deserves less.
Fair enough. Anyway, let's move it on to movies, and we're only going to have time to talk about A24 this week. As you can see, we're way behind schedule, so let's start it off with The Captive, because I'd like to talk about The Captive first. The thing that The Captive did best was it really pulls you in as an audience member. It made me feel like a captive being forced to watch this boring-ass movie.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
What were your thoughts on The Captive?
I still like Ryan Reynolds.
I didn't even like him that much in this movie.
No,
like every time he acted, I was just like...
Oh my god, there's so many parts where I laughed.
There's so many parts that are supposed to be very dramatic. They're really goofy. Did you see my Snapchat story?
I did.
I highlighted a specific one of them where his wife's supposed to be so angry that she screams and starts beating on him, but her scream is like... It's like so good.
Oh, look at that bar.
This is the funniest... This is the funniest comedy. Is this funnier than Obvious Child? Probably.
Yes. Oh my god, yes. That's sad, but yeah. Wow.
So, I'm not a fan. I'll just start at my overall rating for not Obvious Child. The Captive was 4 out of 10. I'd probably go lower if I thought about it more, but I didn't want to give any more thought to it than that.
Well, I mean, okay, so let's do a quick rundown. So you got Ryan Reynolds, who has a daughter. This daughter is in the back of his truck. He goes and gets a pie, and the daughter gets kidnapped.
Right. And
she's held captive.
But that scene comes far too late in the movie, in my opinion.
For you to care at all.
To care at all.
Yeah.
It's like, when it happens, it's like, geez, finally something's going to happen in this boring movie. Like, immediately off the bat...
That's the first interesting thing.
Immediately off the bat, it just, like, kind of, like... I was like, I don't get what's going on.
Well,
is the problem. Everything that's happening, I was like, who are these people? What's going on? It's like... I think what they're going for is they're trying to, like, build in some rewatchability. Because it's like, there's a lot of situations that happen throughout the movie where you don't get what's going on, but then later on you're like, oh, that's what that was, you know?
Yeah.
And then when his daughter got kidnapped, I perked up a little bit because I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. And then just right back in the drain with the... it wasn't the pacing that took a dive bomb after that scene. It was the quality. Because... Then we bring in these two, like, agent people, especially this guy.
Jeffrey and Nicole?
Yeah, and they're, like, the worst people in the movie.
Oh my god, yeah, they are.
Not from, like, an acting standpoint, but they're just not likable. Like, the guy, Jeffrey, is that his name?
Yeah.
I just hated him. Maybe I was supposed to, but I was like...
I think you're supposed to, but
it's
who
like,
cares?
This guy's such a jerk. I don't like him.
Yeah, he keeps thinking, he's like, Matthew, who is Ryan Reynolds, whose daughter was stolen, he's like, I think you're a pedophile, and you took your daughter and sold her to a pedophile.
It's like, basically, it's so stupid, because it's like, you get this father who's, like, distraught, because his child's just been stolen, and you put him in, like, this interrogation room, and these two agents come in, it's like, you've got something to hide. It's like, his daughter was just kidnapped. What are you doing?
Wait, you said she was 9, not 10.
Yeah.
Who the fuck cares? Like, that's literally what he says.
Yeah, he was just like, what does it matter?
And then he slams the table again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's so stupid. As I was watching it, ironically enough, I was getting Stockholm Syndrome, where I was like, yeah, it's fine for what it is. And then when I thought back on it, I was like, I didn't enjoy anything. I was constantly checking the time, and you have no idea the feeling of despair that I had when I checked. I was like, it's got to be wrapping up, and then I saw it's a 2-hour movie, and I was only an hour through it.
Oh my god, this
movie's way too long.
I did that.
It was in the, like, charity ball scene. I was like, this has to be wrapping up, right? And I checked it. It's like, we're like halfway through. Come on.
Yep.
And I literally, like, put the remote down. I put my head in my hand. And I was like, ugh. Don't watch another hour of this.
Oh, yeah, it was rough.
So I wasn't a fan of The Captive.
No, me neither.
Like, at all. Honestly, like, on the scale of bad A24, it's like, it's fine, but all of the good things about it are, like, taken from other better movies. This movie's like the poor man's Gone Girl, basically.
Which I still haven't seen.
Actually, well, maybe this came out before Gone Girl. Okay, if it did come out before Gone Girl, this is The Poor Man's Taken. Except without the action of Taken. It's
So it's by Adam Egoyan?
Yeah. I had never heard of.
I've never heard of him, and all of his famous movies that he's known for are nothing I've heard of.
Okay.
Which is a good sign.
I mean, I have no problem with the direction of this movie, other than it felt a little unoriginal. Like I said, there's scenes in this movie where I found myself thinking, this is good. This is, like, objectively good, but it's like, I've seen this done better in other movies.
Well, basically. Yeah, I mean, my God, this, like, time swapping back and forth is...
Oh, that was so disorienting.
It's so disorienting.
And it's like, see, the thing is, there are movies that do this... And
have you ever seen Memento and thought, wow, that was really good?
Well, yeah, more specifically, it's like a Dunkirk situation, where instead of, like, a consistent timeline, it's just, like, jumping all over the place.
Dunkirk is very consistent, considering it's taking place over a very short period of time.
Well, no, it's there's 3 storylines in Dunkirk. One that's, like, 3... I forget what it is. It's, like, one that's 3 months out from the invasion, one that's, like, 3 weeks out from the invasion, one that's, like, during the invasion. And they're all, like, happening. It seems like they're all happening at the same time, but if you watch it again, as I have, it's like... Okay. They're at all different times, basically. The two of them interlap. I think they all interlap at a certain point, but, like, they're all happening at different paces at different times. It's a little confusing, but the thing about Dunkirk is it's engaging. Even though the characters are a little weak, it's like you care about what's going on, because it's like, you know, it's a big catastrophic event, you know. This, I didn't care, because it's like, why should I care about these characters I don't even like?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't like Ryan Reynolds in this movie. I didn't like anyone in this movie.
No.
I was like, I didn't... What?
As far as characters go, the most
I almost rooted for the villain. I was like...
Really?
Well, I mean...
No, he was a creepy ass...
The villain was actually comically overdone.
Well, that's that guy, though.
The fact that guy... Well, it's just like everything the villain did was
Kevin Durant.
So incredibly, like, over creepy. And I was like, oh, wow. And I noticed at a certain point where the movie was revealing some truly horrifying concepts to us, and I realized, I was like, this is not impacting me, because it's so flat and uninteresting.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, the concept of the movie has to do with pedophilic kidnapping, you know, and it's just not impactful. It's just like it's like the concept alone isn't enough. Like, there's no engagement in what's happening.
Yeah, it was awful. Ice skating.
Yeah, figure skating.
Figure skating was a big thing in this.
I don't know why.
But it was awful.
Yeah.
Do you remember the scene where he goes to the place with all those trees, and then he's like, take these trees out of here. I'm sending everyone home. Come back tomorrow. Go to that motel. Yeah. And he goes and he sleeps and he wakes up and somebody stole his trees.
But before he goes to the inn, it's like he goes to the inn and then it pans over to literally the main villain is on a bed with, like, binoculars
in his hotel looking at him.
It's like, I mean, okay.
It's like James Bond.
He's just there now.
Oh, God. And then I just love that he gets his tree stolen, and then he looks, and then there's just, like, one tree in the middle of the parking lot, and he's like, oh, my God. My daughter.
Right, yeah. Yeah. And then we've been told he's a pretty rational person. Well, not very rational. What I did kind of like is, minor spoiler alert, near the end of this, Ryan Reynolds is, like, deduced to nothing more than just a rambling psychopath, which was entertaining, because it's just Ryan Reynolds being like a creepy, crazy guy in a restaurant. I was
By
like,
far
the
best scene was that diner where he just, like,
he just sits down.
Call the police. He rips the thing off the missing poster off the wall, and then goes to the table and sets it down. He's like, have you seen my daughter?
And then he proceeds to just absolutely overact the hell out of those people.
It was so good.
He's just saying there, like, the police are responsible.
They're
holding my daughter. He sounded like Batman.
I loved that scene so much.
Calm down, dude.
That was my favorite.
It's like even the girl that's with the villain's like getting really freaked out. I don't know.
That was my favorite scene.
Oh boy, that movie broke me.
That scene and then the tree scene was my favorite scene.
Yeah, the tree scene.
And then he just goes and runs after the trail of
the trees.
Oh my god. And then ends up in the middle of nowhere.
You know, actually, at the beginning of the tree scene,
good.
it's like he comes out and the trees are gone. And I was like, oh, this is like a parallel for how he came out earlier and his daughter was gone. And I was like, that's kind of interesting. And then I went back to just not caring. Like, the next second. It did something almost interesting with that. And then it's just like, it's just schlock.
Oh god.
Yeah.
It was so funny. And he's like, I see my daughter again, yay! And he hugs her, and she's like, I gotta go, and then gets shot with a horse train. The villain comes out from behind the trailer with a gun.
Apparently he was just crouching there the whole time.
And shoots him with a horse train.
It's just, and they didn't really bring that up again. They didn't establish what happened to him after that. Just the next scene, he's just fine again.
Oh, it was so funny. I was laughing through most of this movie.
Yeah, no, it's very, very funny. So if you want to... I wouldn't even recommend it.
Don't watch it. Don't watch it.
I wouldn't recommend it for like it's so bad it's good, because it's not so bad it's good. It's like, it's not even that... It's bad in the sense that it's just so uninteresting and so like unoriginal.
But I'll tell you right now...
But it's like, as a movie, it's fine. If you want to completely just... by the numbers, passable, like, revenge story, it's fine to check it out. It's like, you could do worse.
No, let me tell you right here, if this movie had been just that trailer scene where his trees get stolen and then he follows them and then gets shot with a horse tranquilizer,
yeah,
and that in combination with Ryan Reynolds going, have you seen my daughter? Have you seen this girl? And then just freaking out.
Yeah.
If it had just been that, this movie would have been a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Just because I love those scenes so much.
The actress that played his like daughter grown up, another minor spoiler, was not very good.
Yeah, I don't like her usually anyway.
Yeah.
Just as an actress.
Yeah.
Usually I'm not a fan of hers. So no, this movie wasn't great. I wouldn't suggest watching it. It wasn't good enough to watch those 2 scenes.
Yeah. That's it.
Let's talk about an actress that I really, really don't like.
Jenny Slate?
Yeah.
Now, I think we might have conflicting opinions on Obvious Child, because I actually liked it I liked it. Like, not a lot, but I had a good time with it. Mostly good time. It took me twice as long to watch it than the actual runtime. Probably more like 3 times as long because, well, I got distracted and I had to like go do something before I could finish it. But after every scene, I had to switch tabs and do something else because of the overwhelming cringe. Like, this movie was extremely uncomfortable for me. Just something about it really got to me. Just the way the social interactions were, every scene, I was just like, ugh.
Really?
It was uncomfortable.
Okay.
But not in a Killing of a Sacred Deer way, more in a like I don't know, like in a way that like most teen movies are, but it's like it wasn't insufferable, it was just kind of, it was too real. It got too real, basically. But yeah, that's just a me thing. Overall I really liked it.
I hate Jenny Slate. I've never liked her in anything.
I don't like her either. But I actually enjoyed her in this.
Did you?
Somewhat. It didn't go off to a good start. The first scene, it was just Jenny Slate doing stand up, and I was like, I don't like this. I mean, it's like, it's fine. I know a stand up comic shout out that has similar humor to that, and it's like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like, this is a thing people do, and I'm not a major fan of it, but that first scene was just a little, I didn't like it. When it went into the actual movie, or like they were like acting rather than just like stand-up acts, it was it got better. Like, Jenny Slate got a whole lot more likable, in my opinion.
You don't like comedy, story-based comedy like that?
Not really.
Okay.
You have to understand, stand-up comedy is like there are 2 stand-up comics I like, and that's about it. Like, stand-up comedy is it's not my thing, really. So, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I usually really like comedy like that.
Okay.
I just really don't like Jenny Slate.
Fair enough.
She rubs me the wrong way every time, all the time. And I didn't realize she was in this movie until I started up. That picture that they have on A24 has her facing sideways. So I didn't realize it was her. On the other hand, Jake Lacey...
was he the guy?
He was the guy.
Yeah.
He was in The Office, which I just finished The Office. And I liked him there, and he plays the exact same character. And so it felt like a very odd continuation of that, and I enjoyed that. Him banging up some random chick and then realizing that was interesting. But this movie, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody.
Well, yeah. See, here's the thing. There's a major group of people I wouldn't recommend this to, and it's people who are particularly conservative, especially those that have strong opinions on pro-life.
Yeah.
Because this movie would be highly offensive to anybody with those sensibilities. And I have no strong opinions one way or the other there, so I was kind of like a neutral party. So it didn't bother me. Like, because this movie... Spoiler alert, this movie is all about, like, the process of abortion. It's not, like, it doesn't really show the other options. It's all about, like, I'm pregnant, I'm gonna get an abortion. That's just what the thing about this movie is.
Mm-hmm.
So if that sounds like it would irritate or annoy you or, like, offend you, it probably will, because it's done in a very... I don't want to say tasteless, but it's done in a very blunt way. That's not really sugar coated,
which I kind of like that.
Yeah, it's like it's a yeah, it's a movie about pro-choice, which you don't get a lot of movies that are about that kind of topic
because they usually don't do well.
Yeah,
they're usually split 50-50.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm neither, basically. I have feelings one way or the other. You know, it's a complicated issue.
It is a very complicated issue.
So I went into this like with a neutral mind, and I was not annoyed by it. So if it sounds like that wouldn't annoy you, then it probably won't, because it wasn't all that bad.
Now, I actually have talked about this issue with a few people, and I've made my stand on one of the 2 ways. And if you really want to get into that conversation, we can do so over the internet, but we are not going to be doing it here and now. But as far as it goes, it's a lot of gray area as far as the circumstance goes around abortion in my book. But as far as this movie did it, I was very blunt, as you said, and I usually like things said in a very blunt manner. Like as far as it goes, if there's like if somebody has an issue with me, if they're upset with me, I much rather them tell me face to face up front, instead of kind of doing this roundabout baloney where it's like, oh my god, what did the so-and-so. So I hate that roundabout Minnesotan passive aggressiveness.
Yeah, I was gonna say Minnesota's a bad place for that, because there's a lot of passive aggressive people here.
So as far as this movie goes in that regard, I really liked that.
Sure.
As far as acting goes, this was probably the best that Jenny Slate has ever done in my book.
Yeah.
Which still isn't good, because it's one of those things. It's another Fred Armisen.
I actually cared about her as a character. By the end of it, I was like, I feel the struggle.
Yeah.
And I didn't dislike her by the end of this movie, and that's saying a lot, because I'm not a big Jenny Slate fan either.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
But once again, it's like, as soon as somebody like that is involved in a movie, I just automatically have this predetermined kind of dislike for it.
Right.
That being said, I like this movie way more than The Captive. It was.
Oh yeah, of the 2, I definitely preferred Obvious Child.
Yeah, it still isn't going to get above like a 7 for me, just because it just didn't hold anything worth watching again.
Real quick, I'm gonna pause the recording and we can pick this up. So hold this thought. Hold that thought.
Okay.
All right, back from the pause.
All right.
Continue thought.
So the movie did something that I like, so it was very blunt in what it did present, but what it doesn't do, which I don't like, is it doesn't show both sides, because that's not what it's trying to do. It's very, very clear that it's trying to show that abortion should be a thing that everybody should be able to do at any point in time, yada yada.
Which, I mean, the idea that it's something everybody should be able to do, I agree with that, but it's like, whether or not it's the right thing to do, this movie doesn't really touch on that.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't touch on the actually good points that the other side has.
Right, exactly.
Which is one of the biggest issues, and that's how we get into the problem of being very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Polarized in people's opinions, because when somebody watches this movie,
there's like one scene where a woman's like, you can let's talk about like other options, and Jenny Slate dismisses it.
Oh yeah, she's just like, we're doing this.
Which I said I'm not gonna say my opinion on it, but if I had to say I leaned one way rather than the other, it'd be more pro-choice. But it was a little one-sided, or very one-sided in this movie. So it's like, there's two sides to this argument.
Yeah,
so that could annoy you a little bit. It didn't annoy me because I didn't like... What this movie's trying to do, it just works. So if I felt like the movie was like inhibited by the fact that it's like got an agenda, then I would have brought it up as like more of a negative, but it didn't really feel like that.
It doesn't feel like it's incredibly trying its darndest to push this on people.
Right.
It feels like it's describing, what would happen if somebody who with this mindset decided, or not decided, but got into this situation. And I think it does a good job displaying that. But as far as like the actual political agenda that this does end up attracting and displaying, it's something to talk about in a different place, in a different time, under different circumstances.
Yeah.
But as far as the movie goes, it was solid. It was solid.
I will say, I liked the humor in the sense that it felt very real. It felt like these are real people. It didn't feel very forced. It felt like a pretty natural movie. Like, none of the characters felt all that unrealistic. With the maybe exception of the gay guy. The gay guy was like my favorite character.
He was mine as well.
But he was a little bit of a caricature. But
I've met some people.
Okay. Fair enough. If you've met people like that, then I'll retract my statement.
I've met some people like that, actually. Yeah.
He was pretty fun.
There definitely is people that fit every situation, and there's people in my world that I've met that could very well have filled that role just as easily.
Right.
And that's not a slam on people who happen to be gay, but I know one person who...
Oh, no, I like it. He was the coolest guy in the movie. I was like, yeah, this guy.
Yeah, no,
like,
he's like, the best character.
He says, like, man, I want him to be in this movie more. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was great. I had a good time. I don't mean great, but it was a good time watching movies again.
It's like, if you want kind of a real life, like, uncomfortable comedy with kind of a depressing slant on it. Yeah, this is a great one to pick up. Just yeah. If you had to watch one of these two movies, watch Obvious Child and not The Captive.
And David Cross is in it.
David Cross is in it, and he plays a complete, like, bad guy.
I mean, sure, bad guy. I don't know if I'd use that term, but sure.
Not bad guy in the villain sense, but bad guy in, like, he's just sleazy.
Yeah.
I was like...
Obnoxious.
Yeah. I'm just bringing up A24 because I actually haven't selected my pick for the next one.
Well, let's do that.
All right. Yeah, I think we've said pretty much all we need to say. I am now going to select the next movie we will watch for A24. So just as a recap, we've covered A Glimpse Inside the Mind of Charles Swan III, Ginger and Rosa, Spring Breakers, The Bling Ring, The Spectacular Now, Enemy, Under the Skin, Locke, Obvious Child, and The Captive. And is that it? No, and Krisha.
And Krisha.
So, that means next on the list is The Rover.
The Rover.
Written and directed by David Mitchell, starring Guy Pearce and Robert Pattinson. Ooh.
All right.
You know what else? Oh, actually, wait, hold on. I might, if Robert Pattinson's in, I might have the next one. Oh, yes. Okay, the other one I'm going to pick is Good Time, which is a very recent one, so we're jumping right up to the present.
Oh, okay.
I hear Good Time's extremely, extremely good. I know nothing about it, and I've never seen it.
Why'd you pick it?
Because both movies have Robert Pattinson in it.
All right.
So, it's a little bit of a Robert Pattinson double feature, because I want to see how Robert Pattinson does in roles that aren't Edward Cullen.
I've heard he's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I've never seen him in a movie other than Twilight, and to be fair, I haven't even seen Twilight. So I've never seen Robert Pattinson in a movie besides, I think he was in a Harry Potter movie. Right?
He was.
And I believe I saw that one. So other than that, I haven't seen him in a serious role, so...
Was it Robert Pattinson, or Zac Efron, who was in Water for Elephants?
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
It's a question for fans out there.
All right.
Email us.
Let me know. Let us know.
Any suggestions? Email us, please.
I've got some bad news. Good news and bad news. The good news is we're watching Good Time, so that's good. I'm very excited for that. I have people I love and respect say it's just an amazing movie. The bad news is next week is Life After Beth, which isn't itself a bad thing. But after that, we have no choice but to watch Tusk.
Oh, the best movie, you mean?
So we're already almost at Tusk.
So I
was fearing that this day would come.
So do you mean when it's my turn next week, I should just pick Tusk anyway? So we watch it a week early?
That would be such a wasteful and vindictive, spiteful thing to do. It's just I know it's inevitable, but I'm just gonna do it this week anyway. Even if I did, it was gonna be next week. But no. So again, our movies are the Rover and Good Time for those following along at home.
I hope you are.
I wonder if there's anybody that's watched an A24 movie because they've heard us talk about it.
There'll be a quiz soon.
Okay, yeah, let's have the A24 quiz. Which is the worst A24 movie we've seen so far? Oh yeah, we should keep a running total. What's the best A24 movie we've seen so far, and what's the worst A24 movie we've seen so far? For worst, it's definitely either The Captive or Charles Swan III. What do you think?
I wouldn't say Charles Swan III because I actually enjoyed that more than Ginger and Rosa.
Actually, let's say it's before. Let's say it's between The Captive and The Bling Ring. Would that be a fair statement?
I had more fun with The Captive than I did The Bling Ring.
Okay, so The Bling Ring's still the worst one we've seen so far.
Yeah. Okay, as far as actual movies, yes, The Bling Ring is the worst. As far as entertainment purposes, the most boring one is definitely Ginger and Rosa.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I see. For me, it's The Captive. The Captive
those
had
two scenes.
The Captive had funny moments, unintentionally funny moments, but it was so boring. It was such a trek.
I agree.
So
That's a close second.
Of the A24 of the new movies we've seen of A24, what is your favorite so far?
Okay, so worst one for me is The Bling Ring. The most boring one is Ginger and Rosa for me. The best one. Well, here let's jump to the one that surprised me the most, which is Locke.
Locke, I'm honestly leaning towards best.
That might be
so
best
far,
as well.
Because seriously, Locke was very good.
God, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Out of what we've seen, actually, Locke.
Probably. So Locke still has it. The captive for me is very close to the bottom. So congratulations,
understandable.
Congratulations. So I'm looking forward to the Rover and Good Time next week.
Hopefully, it'll be a good time.
It will.
Um,
So we went a little over an hour, but
not too terrible.
Not too bad though. It's under an hour and a half, which is, I guess, good.
Let me quick put this at the end. If you guys actually do want to talk about any serious topics, because this podcast right now is not the time or the place. If you actually want to, I am always down to have those kinds of chats. We can do so over Discord or whatever. That would be cool. So yeah, just hit me up if you actually wanna dig into it, or if you have any issues or problems with what I may have or Colin may have said on here. Please ask us. Don't just go around thinking we're terrible human beings. Because that's awful.
Yeah. I always fear that after everything I said, somebody's like, "Oh, I can't believe he said that."
Yeah, that somebody's just like, "Oh my God, what was he even thinking?" Well, if you actually want to talk about it,
send your hate mail about my Death Grips review. To Discord.
I will.
I'll read it.
I'm going to send some hate mail to Discord.
Okay. Well, I think that just about does it.
This was kind of a rough week. I wasn't a huge fan of a lot of the things we covered this week.
Yeah, this was an angry week. You hated Death Grips album. I hated The Captive. I think we both kind of hated The Captive.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan.
Obvious Child was
Twin Fantasy.
Yeah. Obvious Child was
Obvious Child was by far the best thing in this week.
Yeah, and even that I didn't love it that much. So This was a pretty week, to quote modern day poet MC Ride.
You got it.
So here's hoping to a good time next week. I'm gonna say that yet again. All right. See you later.
Let the good times roll.
Let the spice flow.
Don't forget, it's wrong to eat your children.